Hi, Run Your Story family. This is Allison Gilliard with Run Your Story, where every story needs to be heard, and making sure that your incredible stories get heard this month are our friend Ainsley's Angels. We are so excited to be partnering with Ainsley's Angels, not only nationally, but also here in Southern Alabama. So excited that a chapter here has started and that we are part of that. We cannot wait to see the stories that get shared with our community. It's going to be so much fun, and it's unreal that it's happening. And so we are so pumped about it. And you may not live in the Southern Alabama, Pensacola area, but we love for you to be part of Ainsley's Angels wherever you are. Be the legs for somebody and help hear their story and help their story become a reality. It's absolutely amazing. We all have a place. We all can do something, but together we can do more. And that is Ainsley's Angels motto, which is together we shall. And it's absolutely amazing. So definitely get involved. Definitely give them a thank you for believing in this podcast and allowing us to share the incredible stories that we've been able to share this month. Talk about sharing, and that is my friend Corbin Harris. Such a cool dude. I'm so excited I finally got to share his story. He's absolutely amazing. And I started following him on social media is how I got to know Corbin. He lives in Kentucky. Such a fun dude. Former high school athlete, but he has this mission on his part, so to speak. It is absolutely amazing because, guys, wait until you hear what Corbin's goals are, okay? So sitting and talking with him and getting to hear his story, but really his heart. And that is what I love about this running community so very much, is that even somebody at the caliber that Corbin Harris is at, his elite athleticism and the goals that he is striving for, he still sees how important run clubs are, how important the journey is, and not necessarily the outcome. Absolutely brilliant. I just adore Corbin and his story and his heart for the running community. It's absolutely incredible. He created a run club. He's a running coach. And again, he wants you to make sure that you understand that you find the joy in the journey and not the outcome. Because not every day, not every run, not every moment is going to go according to plan. And so important. And he helps us to understand that balance is everything. And so much of what has been said here on this podcast, which I'm very proud of, is that we make sure that life is life. And that you fit running into life. You don't fit life into your running. And Corbin he brings that home in this. You guys, wait until you hear just so much knowledge that he gives. And again, his heart, the importance of showing up, and not showing up for yourself, but showing up for others, being there for others. And even on the rest days, how you need to show up. Show up and rest. I thought that was, what? Okay, not a problem. He reiterates time and time again just to enjoy the process, because that's what it is. It's refining us. It's making us stronger. We're learning. We're growing. And the perspectives that Corbin gives, again, from his elite mindset, understanding that we all have a place on the pavement and we all have to start somewhere, is absolutely phenomenal. Guys, if you want to follow him, if you want to be coached by him, I highly recommend that is For Glory. And we will make sure that you have that link as well. And it's so much more than about running. And that's one of the things that we talk about on this podcast so much, is that, yes, we get to run and we get to do this. It's a part of who we are, but it's not our whole being. It's not all that we do. And it's not all that we are. And Corbin shares that with his faith. He shares that with how he lives his life, and he shares that with his coaching. And I'm so excited for you guys to get to hear Corbin and his story. And I'll just leave it when he says, go enjoy the run and enjoy the process. So with that being said, lace up those running shoes, get ready, get set, and go run with my friend Corbin and his run story. Thanks, Corbin, for being here. So excited. I think I started following you on social media. We are both in one of the running groups. And oh my goodness. One, I started following you and was like, I've got to get to know this person. I got to know his story because, one, you're so encouraging. But also, you have a run club that you've started. And one of the things that we talked about pre-interview, which I did not know about you, and I'm so excited to share with everybody, is that You are currently coaching 15 athletes. So that's crazy, insane. I don't know how you do that. It's amazing. But also a former coach at the collegiate level, but you are pursuing an Olympic trials. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that's been a big
Wow.
goal, big dream since I got into the marathon. So it's been exciting and a fun pursuit.
So, obviously, how did we get to this moment where you are not only running, not only coaching, but you've created this run club, which is so near and dear to your heart because it's not just about running, but it's about building relationships. It's about incorporating our faith. It's about sharing the gospel. But also, you're at this point in your life where you're like, I want to go and see what I can do with Olympic trials. Like, how did we get here? How does your story begin?
Yeah, so I've been running for a long time. Started in 4th grade and ran for a while just because I loved being competitive. I didn't necessarily say I loved running, but I was good at it and something that I really wanted to just be a part of a team. And yeah, so I pursued that throughout middle school and high school. In high school, I found myself a pretty average runner, but still loved to be a part of a team. Being an average runner was not knowing what really hard work and a lot of diligence looked like at
Mm,
that young of an age. But what I knew for a long time was I wanted to go to college and I wanted to run or at the time run or play
yeah.
baseball collegiately. But I'm built like a runner, so I wasn't playing collegiate baseball. And so ended up pursuing trying to run collegiate cross country. With the times I was running, I knew I'd need to look into a small school. And I grew up in a small town, so a small school sort of just fit what I felt like I needed. And so I ended up finding myself at Campbellsville University and it was a huge life-changing
Mm,
opportunity for me. Ended up going to Campbellsville, ran there for 4 years. Again, went into college, not loving
mm,
running. I love being a part of a team. I loved having a group of guys that I could just really rely on. I love being competitive. So I loved the racing part of running, but didn't really fall in love with the sport until probably the end of my junior year of college. And I was starting to see a little bit of success where I was now like the 4th or 5th fastest guy on the
mm,
team, but I wasn't winning conference medals or competing at the national level. But I was starting to, obviously, as I was growing and maturing, was able to see success and fell in love with that. But then in my junior year, I really just decided that I have 1 year left. Let's see what I can get
mm,
out of myself with full intent of let's run for my senior year and then let's stop running. And through that process, I increased my mileage, went from running 50 miles a week, jumped up to running more like 70 or 80 miles a week, just thinking, let's go all in and just find
mm,
out what happens. And in that process, I did start having success on the course and on the track, was able to win a conference title in the 5K and was able to win a Christian college national championship in the 5K. But really, the biggest success that came out of that was I was really able to find a love of the pursuit and a love of the journey. The results were fun, but really enjoyed the process of going through all that. So through all this, my best friend and I, we had been running. We were high school teammates. We went to college together, and he was an All-American at our school. And we've been running together for 8 years, and I'd never beat him in a single rep in practice. He's a phenomenal athlete. But we decided we were going to spend one summer training for the marathon while we were still in shape from college. We were going to try to qualify for the Boston Marathon. We were going to go run Boston together, and then we were going to hang it up. And just to say, we ran the Boston Marathon. And we ended up running our first marathon. I went all in on training just because that was what I knew how to do at that point, what I trained my body to do. Ran 80 miles a week on 6 days a week, ran a 20-mile long run for 2 months straight, and ended up having a lot of success. Actually was able to win my first marathon in 2:36. And winning was fun, was exhilarating, but also knowing how talented of a runner my best friend was, and then knowing I beat him. I was like, oh, maybe I'm like actually good at this. I knew we went to a small race, so I'm like, I could have won, but having him in the race, I'm like, maybe this is something that I actually should
mm.
pursue. The year we qualified for Boston was we qualified for
Oh,
2020
mhm.
Boston. So my dreams of running Boston were pushed back for a year and a half. And I was at a stage in life where I was going to go to grad school. So being in school, I still had a little bit more time to train while my best friend was going to med school. So he was not able to really train as much. So he ended up not running the Boston Marathon, but I was like, I'm good at this. I'm enjoying this. I'm going to keep running and just, we'll run Boston whenever I get there. So a year and a half later, kept training, was able to run the Boston Marathon. And from that point to this time, I ended up cutting 9 minutes off my marathon time, finished 55th in the Boston Marathon in a time of 2:27. And really seeing just that growth and really just still loving the process. I wanted to keep pursuing and seeing how good I could get. At the same time that I ran the Boston Marathon, I took over coaching my alma mater in cross country and track. Again, not something I really saw myself
Mm,
pursuing, but started it and really fell in love with the idea of leading and mentoring and being able to live an example and pour into athletes and students in such a critical time in their lives to have a positive role model, being able to do it while also it gave me a lot of time to train, but it also one of my favorite things to do is talk
mm.
about running. So I got to do that for a living. And through that, I just decided at the time the US Olympic trials qualifying time was 2:18. I told myself if I could get down to sub 2:25, I'd give it a shot. My next marathon, I ran 2:23. And so I was like, okay, I've got 2 years to try to run sub 2:18 and decided to go all in. Thought it was going to be a good example of, honestly, for the athletes I was
Mhm.
coaching, of this is what it looks like to really pour your heart into something. This is what it looks like to go all in. And it's okay to set big
Mm,
goals. And it's okay to even fail if you don't meet those goals. But it's chasing the pursuit and really just seeing how to get the most out of yourself. And so poured myself into that, ran Chicago 2023 and made my best attempt that I could. Qualifying time was 2:18. I was probably in about 2:19
wow.
shape, but this was my opportunity. So I went out to run 2:18, hung on for as long as I could, ended up running 2:21 on the
Mm,
day, but can't really say I didn't pour everything I
sure.
had into it, and was definitely a little burnt out coming off of it. Took a little break, a few months break from the sport just to sort of reset and refocus, and thought I would still continue pursuing. When the new Olympic trial standards came out, they were 2:16. I told myself that they were faster than 2:17. I didn't think I'd have a shot, so I probably wouldn't pursue it. But then they came out like, might as well. Let's continue to pour into this. So yeah, that's been the goal of my own running journey. Through the midst of all this and my love of just the sport and the love of coaching, I started coaching some of my former teammates as they pursued the marathon in
Mm,
adulthood and just had some fun with that. I was still coaching collegiately at the time, but since then, I have moved on from collegiate coaching. It was an absolute joy of my life to be able to pour into those
sure.
student athletes, and but got married. My wife and I moved cities for her to pursue her dream job, and so she has an excellent opportunity. We're living in Lexington as she works in the thoroughbred industry and works with a lot of horses and horse racing and things like that. And so with that, wanted to still be able to have a big influence in the running community. I'd built a lot of relationships in that way, and it's just a passion project more than anything. And have really tried to develop my brand for Glory Running. And we're for Glory because everything we want to do is want to do it for the glory of
Mhm,
the Lord. And so yeah, like you said, I coach about 15 athletes through that, probably coached about 25-ish athletes in the midst of my time having it. We have athletes come on for different races and things like that. And it's challenged me as a coach because I coach athletes who run
mm.
ultra marathons and I've had an athlete run a 240-mile ultra marathon. I have masters athletes. I've worked with youth. I have people trying to complete their first 5K and I have people trying to run sub league
Mm,
marathon times. So it's allowed me just to grow
mm,
as a coach, but it's really allowed me to pour into a wide variety of people. Through For Glory Running, we've started a run club currently here in the Lexington area where we just meet every Wednesday. We run together and then we spend time in fellowship and discipleship and just get into the word. And for getting to word, have coffee for an hour after I run. So just a good time to break up our week. And the goal for Glory Running is to be able to continue to grow that. I'd love to be able to grow our group to have different cities. Personally, I'd love to be able to grow the coaching platform to where I can go full time and really have a full time mission of being able to pour into adults in our running
mm.
community, both at races, but also even I'm looking at starting some youth
Wow.
camps with our For Glory Running side just to really use my love of the sport to share my even greater love for
Mm,
the Lord and to be able to disciple people with something that we have common interest in.
absolutely. Oh, man. Oh, disciple in faith and on the pavement. That's pretty amazing.
Yeah, I feel like running is something that whenever you're doing it, even just endorphins, your body is actually open to talking. While you're running, people are just honestly open up
Mm,
a lot more. I'm typically a relatively quiet guy, but whenever I'm running or whenever I'm talking about running, I can talk.
mm,
It's just something that I enjoy. And I think there's just a lot of correlation between what it looks like to
mm,
walk with Christ and what it looks like to train at a high level. Because as Christians, like us reading our Bible and us spending time in prayer is us training ourselves to be able to compete with the
mm.
enemy. And so there's just so many correlations that I just love to be able to pour that into my athletes. Love to be able to have time to even just like pray over an
Mm,
athlete as they're preparing for a race. We have a few athletes that are running the Boston
mhm,
Marathon this week, and just being able to see their journeys. And yeah, we want them to run fast, but I really want them to just get the most out of themselves and be able to build running into their lives. That's one thing I talk about a lot is like, how can we build running
mhm.
into your life and not have to
Oh,
build your life
yes.
around running?
That's one of the things that we try to tell people, anytime that somebody's new to running and they're so excited and you're excited for them as you've been around with running, it's like you see the whole picture. Whereas when somebody, I call them baby runners, they're new to it, again, they bring so much excitement to it. And you're like, oh, I remember my first 5K and I remember all these things. But then realistically, you go, well, hold up. If you want this whole life of running and you don't want to get burned out as you experience, then you have to put it in perspective. And there are some days
Mhm.
where you're going to have to say, do I go for that long run or do I spend time with my family? And you're going to have to sacrifice the run. You just reschedule it. And I think there's a lot of pressure on people whenever they're like, "Oh, I've got to be able to do this." And but what the people are is what's most important. And your run will
Yeah,
always be there.
absolutely.
Like you can reschedule that. And so it's one of the things that I'm so glad that you said that you build running into your life because that's one of our things that we try to tell people is listen, families first and these memories. And yes, we're runners, but it's not our whole identity. It's not all of who we are. You're also a husband and a follower of Christ and a friend. And we wear so many different hats. Running isn't the only hat, it's just the common denominator. So I love
Yeah,
that. I love
exactly.
that so much.
Yeah, it's something that I think there are things you have to choose to take out of
Mm,
your life if you're gonna pursue
hmm.
competitive running, but you also have to make sure your priorities are aligned. For me, I'm blessed for me to train at such a high level while working a full-time job and trying to pursue this dream. I have a wife who's
Sure.
fully on board,
Yeah.
and she'll get on a bike and she'll bike with me and provide my nutrition, so we're not missing out on as much time together, but she's also a runner, and so she understands, and she's in her own pursuits trying to qualify for Boston. And but one thing, it's easier for me to say it honestly than it's hard for me to do it. So I understand the struggle for any runner who feels like they're struggling
Hmm.
with this balance. But as a coach, one thing I do is try to look at it from an outside perspective. What days do we need to make easy so we can
Mm,
accommodate this run to best fit your life? What days do we have more capacity to
sure.
train and put in
Mm-hmm.
longer runs? And that's why I encourage everyone to have a coach. I have a coach because my coach can put it into perspective whenever
Mm,
I'm struggling with that balance. And so I just think having some outsider's perspective to give you some guidance both on what you're doing, on I think when you have that outsider's look, you're understanding why you're doing what you're doing, and it allows you to really have a greater buy-in, knowing the why, and probably more times than not, the why is, okay, like, how can we balance life, and how can we rest a little bit more so we can actually absorb the training we're doing?
that's so good. Corbin, you've already dropped some great nuggets of wisdom our way, which has been amazing. But what are some lessons that you've learned from running?
The biggest lesson I have learned is really to make sure you're focused on the
Mm,
process. The biggest time that I honestly was struggling in running in my life was whenever I was chasing the Olympic trials qualification for 2024. I went all in on setting up. Everything I was doing was set to run
mm,
2:18 in the marathon. Almost as if it didn't happen, then my last year of training was
mm,
pointless. So then not hitting that goal, there was honestly a lot of just disappointment, not necessarily resentment, but I just felt like I lost myself in the process and that I wasn't necessarily enjoying what I was doing every day because it was, I have to do this to hit this goal and not a, I get
mm,
to wake up and see how good
mm,
I can be. So I just think finding joy in the journey rather than outcome, I think 100% the biggest lesson because it's supposed to be fun. I like to call it a game a lot just because when we're playing the game, we want to have fun. Not every day is going to be easy. That doesn't mean that just because it's not fun, you
mhm,
shouldn't do it. But if it's routinely not fun, then we need to be able to make some adjustments. What can we do in order to
mhm,
make it fun? And I think another thing is just having the balance, figuring out ways that you can get in your run throughout a
mhm,
hectic workday. How can we balance life with friends and family while also trying to chase audacious goals? There's nothing wrong with going all in
mm,
on a goal, but there is also priorities in my life. Like number one is being a follower of Christ, and number two is being a husband. And Then honestly, number 3 is
Mm,
probably running. Like, I love the game that much, and I'm training 20 hours a week in order to pursue it. And so, but yeah, I really want to be able to create a balance to where I can be a husband, and in the future, I can be a present father while also chasing after big
mm.
goals.
That is so good. Thank you for sharing that. Absolutely amazing. So I have to know, do you have a favorite race?
I mean, it's hard to beat Boston.
Okay.
I ran Boston in the fall of 2021. So that means I ran it the year it was in the fall. So I've not fully lived a true Patriots Day,
Oh,
Boston Monday.
yeah, yeah.
So hopefully we'll get back, get FOMO every year as I have athletes go and run it. And I'm not, even if I just want to be able to be there and to be present because the atmosphere is just electric. But really hoping my wife's able to
Mm,
qualify. I may go run it next year regardless, but we'll love to be able to just go up there and experience that with her. But outside of that, I've run the half marathon at Grandma's
okay.
Marathon weekend. And this year I'm actually going out and running Grandma's Marathon to be able to be a part of the full. But just the experience in Duluth that whole weekend by the race organizers makes it really fun, and it's a lot easier logistically because it's not a 40,000
Mm,
person
hmm.
race. So it being in a smaller town, it's just a lot easier to coordinate where to be and what to get to. So outside of the Boston Marathon, which is just electric and hard to beat, I really enjoyed
That's
Grandma's
awesome. I
Marathon.
love that. So, is there a race that you're like, not my favorite, or I wish I could go back and redo that, or I am going to go back and redo that?
I've run
Okay.
Chicago, and I've enjoyed that. Actually, okay, my answer is gonna be the New York Marathon.
Oh,
New York City. I ran that. I was coming off a pretty
okay.
major injury. I tore my labrum and got a stress fracture in the
Oh,
same hip.
no.
And so I was on crutches for about 3
Sure.
months. I was able to avoid surgery. And yeah, so I was coming off of that, but still was going to be able to run a pretty good race. I enjoyed my time in the New York City Marathon. I snuck into the sub elite field, so got some pretty special perks of getting a warm up area at the start, like getting to warm up with the
Mm,
elite athletes, getting a separate bus to the start line. So that was really a unique
sure.
opportunity. But the last 4 miles of running through Central Park, I was
Mm,
struggling. It was crazy because I remember I went through mile 21 thinking like, I feel great. I am about to have a pretty special
mm.
day for the training I put in. And within a mile later, I was practically walking. And so I think I just have some just bad feelings towards the last 5 miles of the New York City Marathon. But yeah, kudos to everyone who goes out there and endures the freezing temperatures, like waiting 3 hours for the
Mm.
start line. I was spoiled and got to go sit inside while we drove by everyone else, like sitting outside like hours before
Wow.
the race. And so, yeah, I don't know that I would want to go back and have the same
Mm,
experience. But right now, looking back, I'm glad I ran it, but I don't know if I want to go back to run the New York
that's
City
fair.
Marathon again.
Well, and it's like the mileage you were talking about, like where you're at, people don't realize that Central Park gets a little hilly. You're not
Yeah.
expecting that because it's not what we think about Central Park. We've been fortunate enough that I did not do New York Marathon, but when we made our trip to New York, I was like, I just want to go run through Central Park. And when we got done, I was like, how many hills did we climb? Like, it was insane. And then you find out that the New York Marathon runs through there, and you're like, why?
Yeah, it's a hilly
It's
course
so hilly.
overall.
Yeah.
And I'd really thought that I had gotten through the bulk of most of the
Oh,
hills,
yeah.
but then you come down from 22 to 24, you're steadily
Mm-hmm.
climbing about the
Mm.
entire time. Nothing steep. So for me, I didn't think I was running uphill. Like I was just like, why am I running so slow when this hurts so
Oh,
bad?
yeah.
But then my wife, and part of it at that point in the marathon, I was a
Oh,
little
that's fair.
delirious.
That's fair.
My wife was standing there and she told me after the race, she said, it was not nice of them to put that hill like at that point in the race. I'm like, I didn't realize I was running uphill. I just knew I was barely running.
Oh.
But yeah, the crowds there are crazy. New York is just obviously it's the biggest city in the United States. It's just
Mhm.
different on a different level. One thing I think is unique about New York versus Boston is like the whole city shuts down for the
Mhm.
Boston Marathon, whereas the New York City Marathon, obviously they block the roads, but everyone just goes about their life. There's all kinds of people on the streets, but a lot of them might just be going about their
They're like,
daily
"I'm just trying to get
business.
to
Where
work."
in Boston, yeah, exactly. In Boston, everybody's just going crazy on the sides.
That's amazing. Okay, okay, that's definitely we've not heard that one. We've heard everyone talk about how great it is, so a great perspective there. Okay. So I want to shift a little bit, not only from your own point of view, but also from a coach's perspective, if that makes sense. And that is, how important is pre race routine? How important is post race routine? And what does that look like for you? So, what do you do as an athlete for both of those? And then as a coach, how do you coach that?
Yeah, I think it looks different
Sure.
for every athlete. I think ideal world, I can't say I do this all the time because I have life stress and work and everything. But in the ideal world, your pre-race routine looks the same as your pre-workout
Mm,
routine. And so I usually try to protect my long runs to where I'm waking up 2 to 3 hours before my long run. I'm having the same breakfast I'm going to have on race day. I have been taking Nomeo, which is a supplement that is supposed to help with lactate
okay.
tolerance. And so I've been taking shots of that before harder sessions. And so I usually take that about 3 hours, have my coffee, make sure I go to the restroom, and then get out there and then doing my same stretches, same activations that I'm going to do all the time pre-race. And that pretty much I'm doing the same warm up before every single race as I do before a workout. For me, that's a 3 mile warm up. And then I'll go through the same set of stretches and drills, band activation. I think what that looks like for everyone's a
Sure.
little bit different. I don't do my 3 mile warm up before a marathon. I'll do about a mile to a mile and a half. Just obviously I have time during a 26-mile race
Sure.
to warm up. But yeah, besides that, all my races, my routine
Hmm.
looks the same. If I'm going to a major like Boston or New York, or a race that is going to have to cause me to change my routine just because of
Sure.
logistics, usually during training, I'll try to adjust that routine a
Mm,
little bit. One thing that I'll do as a coach, if my athletes have the capacity to, I'll even start putting their long runs on. Like the Boston Marathon's
hmm.
always on a Monday. So if they can, we're going to try to do our long runs on Mondays for the last 3 weeks of their build, just so they can get in that routine of this is what it's going to be like race morning. If they can't, I would just encourage them to, hey, let's wake up at 6 o'clock. Let's start your long run at 10 a.m. because that's about to be the gap when
Mm,
you're waking up, when you're
hmm.
starting the race. So really just trying to develop a lot of consistency pre-race. Post-race, I would say looks different just depending on what type of
Hmm.
race that is. So usually if it's not a marathon, usually as soon as the race ends, within 20 minutes, I'm trying to do some sort of cool down. If it's I have an athlete that's trying to build a lot of mileage and the race was short, we may go do a 5, 6, 7,
Sure.
8 mile cool down. Some people, if they're running an all out half marathon and they're a newer half marathoner, I'm not going to have to do a cool down. Or if it's a goal race and you're going to plan on taking a break after the race, you don't necessarily
Hmm.
need to do a cool down because you ran your race. Let's just let the body recover for the
Mm,
next 2 weeks. And then usually trying to find some good food, something I enjoy. I think fueling is probably the biggest thing post race that you can do to enhance performance or enhance recovery. Even if that's huge burgers and pizza, like getting something in post race, whether it's 5K, 10K, half marathon, marathon, something in and something in relatively soon after the race is probably my biggest advice
mm,
post race of just making sure you have the ability to recover from that session because you can only like a race is a good hard stimulus that can help your body improve, but your body is only capable from improving from efforts that it's able to
mm.
recover from. So if you're never able to recover from a workout or recover from a race, then you're actually going to see the improvement coming time after time, no
That's good. That's
stimulus.
really good. Do you have a favorite pre-race, post-race meal?
Pre-race, I keep it pretty simple. I usually do oatmeal. If I don't even have access to a microwave for some reason, then I'm content with a
Mm,
bagel and a
mhm.
banana. So if I'm doing oatmeal, it's gonna be oatmeal with peanut butter, banana. If I'm doing a bagel, it's gonna be a bagel with peanut butter and banana. So I usually try to keep that pretty simple. That's honestly what I eat about every single day for breakfast is toast, peanut butter, banana, oatmeal, peanut butter, banana, something in that
Mhm.
realm. Post race, I love a burger. Usually after a race, my last 2 marathons, I haven't been able to eat
Mm.
anything after races as much as I knew I needed it. I like truly could not stomach
Oh,
anything. I had to wait 5 hours after my last marathon before I was able to actually
wow.
eat anything. But usually I'm doing research prior to the race to find what is the best burger place
That's
in the area
awesome.
and getting a burger.
That is awesome. What is a running item that you're like, "I will not go running without this item?" Okay.
Definitely my watch. No, if that's simple, but yeah, my watch cannot can't wear it at
Mm,
work, working in the food industry. for a food safety thing, we're not allowed to have like jewelry on our like
Mm.
hands or wrist. So that kills me, not even like walking around in it. So I cannot run.
So we're not even gonna walk out the door without the watch.
No, I absolutely. At this point in the year, I might get a
That's
sunburn if I
that's
did.
fair. That's
So
all right. Shoes. What do you run in?
I have a wide
Mm,
variety
mhm.
of shoes. My favorite racing shoes, I really like the Puma Fast Star 3s.
Really? Okay.
And so I've absolutely loved those since they were released at Boston last year. So I have an older pair that I'll do workouts in, but a newer pair that I race in. My favorite trainers, I really like the Nike Vomero Premiums. The whole Vomero line, I've really been a fan of. The premiums are my good day after a really hard workout when the goal is to run as slow as possible and just not even hardly run, but
Mhm.
fall forward and
Mm,
just take steps. They protect my
mm,
legs quite a bit and enable me to recover because they have a huge
mm.
amount of foam. So if you really don't like a high stack and like a lot, it's a lot of shoe. If you don't like that, you're not going to like the premiums, but I enjoy them. But I do also just enjoy the general Vomeros as well. Those are probably my go-tos right now. Also really enjoy the Asics like
Mm.
Metaspeed line. And actually, yeah, I just got the Asics
Oh.
Mega Blast. I've been doing all my long runs in there in
Mm.
those, and I have thoroughly enjoyed those as a shoe that is not a carbon, like a hard
Mhm.
carbon plated
Mhm.
racing shoe to be able to do some faster
Mm.
pickups and to run more of a steady, harder
Yeah.
effort in those.
Oh, I've been eyeing those. So, and they're so pretty. They're so
I've,
pretty.
yeah, everyone that I have talked to that has worn the Mega Blast has asked.
Mm.
So
Yeah, it's a pricey shoe. Yeah.
it is. I was gifted mine, so that was definitely a big blessing. A local running store I did a
Oh,
talk at, and
nice.
they asked me what shoe I
Okay.
wanted, so they got me the Mega Blast, so it was definitely a huge blessing.
That's amazing. Let's talk about fueling for long runs. So, how do you fuel for your marathons?
Yeah, so usually what I try to do for a while, I would look at whatever the race
Mm.
offered
Mhm.
on course, and I would just grab whatever gels they offered, and that's what I would train with. I've recently really found I really like the
Yeah.
Science and Sport gels, and so I take their
Mhm.
Beta Fuel gels and I just now just carry the gels that I'm doing. I usually with the Beta Fuel, there are 40 grams of carbs per gel, so I usually try to get in one of those every 20 to
Wow.
25 minutes. So then I'm getting in about 100 to 120 grams of carbs per hour is my focus. As we get hotter
Mm.
during the summer, I don't really carry any hydration while I'm running. But as we get hotter during our summer long runs, I'll set up tables and maybe instead of one of my gels per hour, I'll have a bottle in there with blank sports nutrition
Mhm.
hydration mix and will get my 40 grams of carbs in that while also being able to take in some fluids. Also work with Wildly Charged, which is an
Oh, wow.
electrolyte company based out of
Okay.
the Carolinas. And it's a very clean, low cost electrolyte that I've really enjoyed. So I'll usually sprinkle some of that in pre-run or during our
Mhm.
hot summer runs in Kentucky when I'm sweating a lot. I'll usually have some electrolytes in there. During a marathon, I will carry
Mhm.
my gels, but I'll usually take in the fluids that they just whatever they
Gotcha.
offer on
Wow.
course.
And we are entering into the great time of the year where it is hot and it is humid. So, yeah,
It is.
man. All right. So, I want to ask this question because this is like one of my favorite questions. Do you have a favorite running memory that either makes you laugh or you're like, wow, that was such a great running memory, or you're like, I can't believe that happened kind of running memory?
Thinking back, being a collegiate athlete, my freshman year, we won our conference championship for the first time in school
Wow.
history. It was so long ago that it is hard to really feel
Sure.
those emotions at this point, but I like know how much of a big deal
Mm,
that was at the time. And that was obviously that's more of a team accomplishment. And that was something that as a team, I didn't score. I wasn't one of the scoring members. I was a freshman on the team, but I knew how much it meant to the
mm,
seniors on the team to be able to
mhm.
accomplish that because they had come in their freshman year and made it a goal by their
Wow.
senior year to
Yeah.
win a championship. And so that was one. And then it's Boston weekend. So I just am thinking of when my experience
Yeah.
running the Boston
Mhm.
Marathon was just
Sure.
phenomenal and hard to just beat that experience and that trip as a whole. It was a trip I made just completely by myself. My last big, probably solo trip. Able to make a lot of just random friends through different activations, and so I've had a cool
That's
experience out there.
amazing.
That's yeah,
Oh,
it's hard
those
to
are
beat.
really good memories. Okay. Okay. Do you listen to music at all when you run? Okay.
Sparingly, I'll listen more to
Oh,
podcasts
okay.
if I'm listening
Mhm.
to anything. If I'm doing a workout, I usually won't have anything in. But yeah, I'm a huge podcast junkie, so we'll usually be listening to podcasts on a lot of my
Okay.
easy days.
Very nice. Okay. Awesome. So I also really appreciate this question from an elite athlete like yourself, but also as a coach. Do you have a favorite recovery tool? And what do you tell your athletes that is the best way to recover?
The best way to recover is sleeping and eating.
Okay.
Nothing that like special beats either
Okay.
of those things. As far as a recovery tool, I really like the
Oh,
Normatec
say
compression
less.
boots.
Yes, let's go.
I have a non-Normatec
That's fair.
version, but the compression boots are nice as a tool, but my number one advice is that 1% of those boots don't beat having quality nutrition in a timely fashion and sleeping 8
Mm,
hours a night.
that is fantastic. What's your favorite cross training activity?
I would probably say
Mm,
cycling. I wouldn't have said that
okay.
about a year ago, but my last injury, I got one of the kicker
hmm
trainers from Wahoo, so now I can join the virtual world of Zwift. And so doing the Zwift workouts and almost like playing a video game while you're
Mm,
working is a lot of fun. So I really enjoy that. And yeah, not a fan of swimming whatsoever. Spent too much time in the elliptical, so not a fan of the elliptical, but I don't cross train for the sake of cross training usually. It's usually if I'm a little
mm,
beat up, but I will do strength training I'll do while I'm healthy, hopefully to
sure.
stay healthy, but cross training aerobically is usually my if I did something dumb in running and got myself hurt, then that's what I'll go to.
That is fair. That's fair. So, Corbin, obviously, you've had, as you've said earlier, that you coach people from all ranges. So, you may be coaching somebody that's like brand new to running, or they want to run their first 5K, or maybe they're like yourself and they came back from an injury. What is a piece of advice that you would give them, whether they're getting started into running or they're coming back from an injury? What is something that you wish that you had known and something that you tell people whenever you're talking to them?
I would just say I wish I knew the importance of showing up every
Mm.
day and just being consistent with the plan, and showing up on a day may mean taking a rest day.
Oh, wow. Okay.
But that rest day being a planned rest day, not "Oh, I didn't feel like running today, so I
Sure.
didn't run
Okay.
today." And so following a plan and just the importance of consistency, consistency compounds upon itself. And so the longer that you are staying healthy, so that's part of the consistency and showing up every day is being able to
hmm
stay healthy. But then also just the more that you're just doing it, the better you're going to get at it. I had an athlete that he's wanting to try to train for some
hmm
triathlons, and he is very new to just aerobic sport in general. And his biggest issue has just been getting out the door
Mm.
each day. But he's now put together even just 3 weeks of, I think he's maybe missed one workout in 3 weeks. And he got done with his run this past week. He just did a 6 mile run. And that's what I had on his plan. And he texted me, he was like, I didn't even think I could run 6 miles.
Mm.
But yes, it's only been 3 weeks, but also you've put together 3 good weeks. And we went from being able to run 3 miles to being able to
Sure.
run six just by showing up and doing your work 5 to 6 days a week and then taking your off day on the day that was planned.
Mm. One of the things that being in the running world, and it's again something that we tell people, we're sometimes the hardest thing about running is putting on your running shoes and showing up. Because, like you
Mhm.
said, you may have had a really bad work day and you're like, man, I just can't do this. But sometimes the biggest victory is tying up those shoes and getting out on the pavement and saying, okay, I've got to push through this. So I appreciate that. That's really good.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people, they look at people who do it all the time and just think it's
Mm,
always easy,
mm,
but it's not an
mm-mm.
easy choice all the
Absolutely.
time. I manage a coffee shop, so our days sometimes start at 4:30 in the morning, and I can guarantee you my run at 3 a.m. was not a choice I wanted to make. But it was a choice that if I'm gonna chase
Mm,
my goals, it's like what I like felt like I needed to do in order to do it. And so, yeah, I absolutely love running, but there's a good chunk of time that I don't love it until I'm about 3 miles
mm,
into my run. I'm hard to get out the door. So usually if someone's struggling with that, then I will usually just tell them that let's start the run, give it 5 minutes. If it doesn't feel good after 5 minutes and you're still really not wanting to be out there, turn around and run
mm.
home. Then at minimum, you got 10 minutes of running in.
Oh, yeah. Mm. That's good. That's really good. You've already mentioned you're pursuing the Olympic trials, which is so exciting. Along with that, do you have any other running goals?
Running specifically, right now, I've not thought too much
Okay.
past that. My wife is South African, so the Comrades Marathon is a 52-mile race in
Hmm.
South Africa that I just think would be fun to
Okay.
participate in, but I've not run farther than a
Okay.
50K, so I've not run farther than
Hmm.
31 miles. If there's anything I've said I want to do after pursuing the Olympic trials, that would probably be the one thing. But yeah, I haven't
Mm,
thought too much past trying to qualify. And I think I don't think I will until I've qualified or I decide that I'm done
mm.
trying to qualify.
Okay. That's good. Hey, that's good. Corbin, when we've talked about when we do want to quit or we do want to give up on a run or we're in the middle of something, we're like, man, like I just want to quit. Do you have a mantra? Is there something that you tell yourself to get through to the next mile?
I would say in training, it's more of I just
Mm,
show up. Like it's more of who I am. Like I'm just the guy who I'm going to show up and I'm going to do it every day, whether I
mm,
want to or not. And that's just by speaking that over myself. It's like not a I'm going to show up today, but it's like my personality is someone who
mm,
just gets it
mhm,
done. Racing in terms of like whenever a race gets hard, the biggest thing I had a buddy tell it to me, and I share it with all my athletes now, as especially like in a mission
sure.
focused coaching business, is just like if Jesus went through all this suffering to die on the cross and all the pain and suffering he went to endure for my sins, what is this pain in
Mm,
comparison to that? And so it allows me to reframe and refocus really why I'm doing what I'm doing is to glorify and honor the Lord with the abilities and the passions that He's given me, but also just lets me know that the pain that I am enduring is temporary and is nothing in comparison to something that's already been done
mm.
for me.
Oh, that's so good. Oh, man. I'm going to remember that because 2026 seems to be the running of the hills, is what I've been calling it. And I need that. So I will be telling myself that with all the races we're doing.
Yes. Love that. Love that.
So, do you have a favorite length to run? Like when you look at your training plan or whether it's race day and you're like, "Ooh, I get to go run this." Do you have a secret sauce mileage?
I love longer runs. So usually my mileage weekly is anywhere between 100 to
Mm,
130 miles a week. I usually feel my best around 115 to 120 miles a week. And that just means a lot of just random mileage runs all the time. But I really like long runs. That's why I've had a lot of success in the marathon. If you look at my 5K times in comparison to my marathon times, my 5K does not convert to what I should be able to run in the 5K based off
mm,
my marathon. But yeah, so anything longer, like 22 to 24 miles in terms of racing, thoroughly just enjoy lining up for a marathon. I wish it was something that I was able to do more than 2 or 3 times a year, but obviously that would be limiting a lot of training if I was able to do that more often. But yeah, thoroughly enjoy anything longer. Distance doesn't
mm,
scare me
mm.
at this point, but pace does.
There you go. Okay, okay. Corbin, when you're not running, what fuels you? What are you passionate about?
I'm passionate about sharing,
Mm,
talking about Jesus. I am passionate about being a good husband. I think a lot of what I'm doing is if I'm not running, I am usually talking about running through my
mhm,
coaching business. If I'm not doing that, I work full time, but I am just trying to be a husband, trying to just to rest from my running. Honestly, a lot is I don't really have a lot of hobbies outside of running and
mm.
coaching running, but yeah, I thoroughly enjoy it enough to make it a lot of just what I'm around. And so whether I'm talking to athletes, trying to disciple or build up just the people that I'm around through the sport, yeah, it's usually what I'm doing. I'm not actually with
Dude,
one
that's
foot in front of the
awesome.
other.
I love that. So, you've mentioned earlier that you work at a coffee shop. So, do you have a favorite drink that you like to make?
I am simple and I usually just drink black
Oh,
coffee.
come on.
I Yeah,
Oh,
I have gotten into more coffee since I've been
okay.
working
Okay.
there. I started at Starbucks not because I had a passion for coffee, but because I had management and coaching
Mm,
experience, and that was they were who was hiring when we moved to
okay.
Lexington. And so I always only drank black coffee before
Okay.
I started there. I'm now able to differentiate between different types of beans and things like that, where in the past I was just like coffee is coffee.
Oh.
If I'm really thinking something special, then I'll usually get like a chai or something.
Mm,
But yeah, I'm pretty simple and just drink coffee and don't really put
Man,
anything in
that's
it.
so
So
sad. So sad. Corbin, this has been so fun. I have learned so much, and you've made me excited for my marathon training coming up. So much.
what marathon are you training for?
Rocket City Marathon in Huntsville. Yeah,
Okay.
it's their
Yeah,
50th.
I've looked at running it before. I've not run it,
So
but
excited.
I've
Yeah.
looked at it.
My one and only marathon was during COVID, so it was virtual. And
Oh, wow.
yeah, I was like, never again will I do that. And so I had a lot of friends that were like, you need to do a live one. You need to do a live one. And it's their 50th. And so I was like, okay, let's go big or go home. And a friend of mine, so keyword friend, was like, we should run a 26 in the year 26. And so oh,
Love
it just
that.
kind of stuck with us. So here we are.
Well, best of luck to you. It'll be good. I ran one virtual and it doesn't do the
No.
distance
And
justice. So
they
you're
gave
gonna
you
enjoy it.
nothing. They gave you a virtual medal and
Yeah.
all. It was so, my husband was very sweet and commemorated. He bought me a pair of earrings that had 26.2 on them. So
Oh,
yeah,
I
so it
love
was
that.
very sweet because he's put in a lot of hard work for that. So, but yeah, it's been great. I learned a lot. I'm very excited to put all this into practice. So do you have any final words of wisdom?
Not necessarily. I just go enjoy the
Mhm.
run, enjoy the process, show up every day, and yeah, have fun. It's just running, so you don't have to over stress it, overthink it. Just yeah, have fun and show up.
Dude, Corbin, this has been amazing. Thank you so much and for sharing your story, for what you do for the running community. And I'm excited to cheer you on and see where your story goes, my friend.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me on here.
Absolutely. All right. So, Corbin's goals are to make Olympic trials. What? Wild, insanely wild. I'm so excited for you, Corbin. Thank you for sharing your story. Most importantly, your heart for the running community is so evident that you love the running community, that you love community, that you love people, that you love the gospel, and that all just goes hand in hand into what you do. It's just absolutely amazing. Thank you for your nuggets of knowledge, all the wisdom that you brought, both from your personal, but also from your coaching aspect. Thank you so much for sharing all of that. And again, guys, go follow Corbin on social media and all that he's doing. And if you're in the Lexington, Kentucky area, definitely go check him out and what he's doing and his run clubs. He's absolutely phenomenal. And I just know him from social media. I wish I lived closer because what a really cool human being to get to know, and what a privilege it is to share, Corbin, your story and your heart. And I'm so excited for you. I'll be cheering for you and all the things, and cannot wait to see what our Heavenly Father has in store for you. I'm very, very excited for you, my friend. Thank you again to Ainsley's Angels and Ainsley's Angels of South Alabama for believing in Run Your Story, for partnering together, for what you're doing for the community as a whole, and the honor to be someone's legs, the honor to be a part of someone's story like this is just absolutely incredible. So I'm incredibly grateful for the partnership. I'm incredibly grateful for what's to come, the stories that are being written. It's going to be incredible, absolutely incredible. Thank you again to Greg Gilliard from Gilliard Tech Services. Love and adore him. So thankful that he believes in the running community. Guys, go check out the website. He's been doing some updates and it's been so fun to see. And our website just looks so good. And he does such a great job editing the podcast. So thank you, Gilliard Tech Services, for all that you do. Guys, if you know somebody or you need a new website or one updated, go check him out. He's definitely worth it. And he loves making your dreams become a reality on a website. He knows that the stories can be told. It's absolutely amazing. So definitely check him out, Gilliard Tech Services. You can find out more about him at Gilliard Tech Services online, or you can also find out on the Run Your Story page as well. Thank you to our Patreon family members. Hope you guys are enjoying all the little happies that are coming your way. I'm so excited. I'm so incredibly thankful for you, your hearts. You keep us encouraged, and just knowing that we're not doing this alone is just, it speaks volumes. You guys have no idea how much our Patreon family members mean to us. It's just, they're so invaluable. I wish I could give them a world. I know I say it all the time, but they really are the cream of the crop of people that believe in us, believe in this podcast, believe in the power that we have to share the stories, to unite them, to see what we have in common. And it's just amazing to have people that love this podcast and that love us. So it's pretty amazing. So thank you to our Patreon family members. Guys, go make sure you read Dave's blog. He is blogging more than shoes, which is so fun and such a heart of gold. So go check out the blog, which is on Runner Story as well. Give him a shout out. Let us know what you think about the blog. He's doing a great job. We're so excited. Guys, make sure that you go read Dave's blog. We know him as Dave the Shoe Guy, but he is so much more than that. And he's sharing that in his heart and what he's doing with his latest blogs, the way that he's writing. It's just absolutely amazing. So he loves talking shoes, but he also loves his community so much. And I'm really proud of him. So excited to see him using the gifts that he has the way he has with Runner Story. So again, truly an honor and incredibly grateful for that. And with that being said, guys, go Runner Story, because every story needs to be heard.